to Charmed Life, a radio show discussing spirituality, magic, and the unconditional love of the universe. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm your host, Tricia Carr. Welcome to this episode. I'm really excited to dig into this very positive episode, which will make a lot of sense here in just one moment when I introduce my guest. I would just want to remind you guys that you can watch this as a video podcast on YouTube, youtube.com/Tricia Carr, where I also post other videos. And you can also listen to it live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific on my YouTube channel, or you can go to the special broadcast window on my website, TriciaCarrCharm.com, where you'll also find my classes and intuitive mediumship, one-on-one sessions, animal communication. And please do join my newsletter, join the mailing list. That's the best way to stay up to date with all of the different things that I have going on. And without further delay, I would love to introduce my very special guest. His name's Brandon Beachum. He is the host of the weekly podcast called Positive Head. His passions include discussing the ultimate nature of reality, pursuing unique entrepreneurial ventures, making music and writing. His dream is to expand consciousness as far and wide as possible by helping people to awaken to the realization that we are all literally one with Source/God/the universe, whatever you want to call that, as well as one another. And he often elaborates on this concept that separation is an illusion and is fond of saying, all is literally one, act accordingly. I love that. That is so wonderful. Welcome, Brandon.
Keep it simple. Yes. Thank you for having me. It's definitely a pleasure to be here with you today on your show.
Thanks. You honor me. You have such a prolific body of work. He has over 1,000 episodes of Positive Head. That's amazing. What an inspiration. Just really out there serving. That's powerful service, you guys. You don't know how hard it is to, or I shouldn't say hard. There's so many moving parts.
Challenging.
A lovely, lovely challenge, which is Marianne Williamson says that the challenges are gravity, like that we push against to make us stronger. So thank you, challenges. But 1,000 episodes is really a feat of powerful work that you're doing just from your heart, because that's free. it's free to the listeners.
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey. I mean, I have so many questions, but what inspired you to start this? Did you have a spiritual awakening? What's your path, your journey, all of that business?
Right. Well, let's see. If really going back to my own spiritual awakening, I was raised, I currently reside in Los Angeles area in Venice Beach. And I was raised in Virginia and raised in a very conservative sort of Christian household. And in my very early 20s, about 20 years ago now, I started having my own spiritual awakening and having some really powerful, perspective shifts on the ultimate nature of reality, who and what I am, started sort of playing with those ideas because they made so much sense to me. And that's what I always say to people is like, just listen to some of these perspectives with an open mind and perhaps, play with them, explore them, and then buckle up your seatbelt, because then you're actually shown the power. And, I believe the proof is in the results and how it affects and shifts things in your life. And so I started doing that, when I was, right around 21 or so. And it was really, really profound. I started having some really powerful, synchronicities and experiences that sort of cemented this new perspective into my world. And then I just got really, really passionate about the topic and talking about it. And I was sort of looking around, at the time, thinking, how is everyone else not seeing this and not sort of, freaking out about it in a good way. And so I would talk to anyone who would listen about the spirituality, the ultimate nature of reality, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Some people would look at me and say, wow, that's really fascinating, interesting idea, or you're crazy, or whatever, or just disregard it and then just kind of go about their lives. And at the time, it was very much like, an island. I mean, I had books and things that I really locked into early on that, Conversations with God is a great example. That really helped to sort of solidify my own perspective. And so for a long time, it was like, a lot of people in my life weren't really on the same page. And then, and one of the things that I think has been sort of foreseen and talked about it for a long time is this mass awakening that has actually been prophesized by many different cultures, over many hundreds, thousands of years that would come around this time. And I've definitely seen in the last, 7 years or so of my life where now I'm just surrounded by this sort of stuff with people in my life and, of course, through my podcast. And so, I started off, I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life and, have played with some of the concepts and created some really interesting things. Okay, I'm one with the source that creates and animates all things. I'm unlimited, have unlimited abundance at my disposal. And, at the time being on a friend's couch in 2010, after sort of a rough patch and growing from that to a Inc. 500, 569th fastest growing private company in the US in 2015, using these perspectives, and applying these ideas. And then, of course, launching Positive Heads shortly thereafter. Or right around that time. And I've been really blessed that has been sort of, for many years consistently in the top 5, in the category of spirituality on iTunes. So, now sort of parlaying into a new late night style talk show that I'm just about to sort of release to the world. And so that's been my journey very quickly in a nutshell. And, what's led me up to where I'm at today.
That's so exciting. Well, let's talk more about the nighttime show. And it's video as well. So Positive Head podcast doesn't have a video component, correct?
No, Positive Head I've been doing, as you said, over 1,000 episodes at this point, around 1,020 as of this recording. And I started off just doing a weekly interview in 2015 with, a different consciousness change maker, as I like to refer to them, and someone like yourself. And I, what I learned very quickly was, and why I started it is I really needed an outlet. For years leading up to that, I would talk to people, passionately about this topic, and my poor friends and family, ears were bleeding. And so I really needed a new outlet and to find an audience. And so I started by interviewing other people, and that, I quickly learned was as great as it was once a week, and it's primarily about someone else. Was I needed my own outlet. I had way too much to offer and would want to take over their conversation, and really with an interview, it's mainly about the other guest. Right. And so that's when I switched to doing it 5 days a week.
Wow.
So
amazing.
I started just like freestyling whatever would come up, each morning. What's happening in my own life? What challenges did I face in the last 24 hours? A question from a listener came in. Oh, this synchronicity unfolded that let me know this is what I should be talking about on this random Tuesday, And so it became this very highly interactive, experience with the listeners, P-heads, as I affectionately refer to them. And it became this magical, interactive, sort of free-flowing, freestyling, very little preparation with each of the daily episodes. And then, so Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday was that. And then Wednesday is still my interviews. And then it sort of evolved a little bit. At one point, maybe a year plus ago, we did a fan takeover on Fridays. We call it the P-head Posse, where it's all about the fans and who in as a listener is up to something really interesting, to kind of highlight them and give them a platform and a voice. And so another listener, Alexa, stepped forward and she asked to, had the idea, and what if I actually run that episode? And I allowed her to do that. So truly the fans took over that day. And then now most recently with the launch of the impending launch of my new, late night style talk show, the evolution of Positive Head, if you will. It's called Optimistic, spelled MYSTIC. And it's a lot to go from audio to a full video production with a live studio audience, live visionary painters, musical performance, just like you would see with a typical late night style show, all consciousness related conversations, topics, and art being shared. And so obviously that's a lot more to bite off than just, turning on a microphone each day. Right. And so I've moved to now, as we talk, Tuesdays and Thursdays are now run by my dear friend, Dr. Erica Middlemiss, who was filling in for many years whenever I was traveling and things like that. So it's Tuesday and Thursday is her, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is me. And sometimes Alexa still fills in on Fridays, but it's evolved a little over the years. But I would say out of the 1,000+ episodes, probably, 90% of them are all me, so there's a lot there.
That's fascinating. I love the optimistic format. And you are doing it just completely independently?
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yep. I
Love
have launched a production company I call Television Studios. And Television Studios first, as you can tell, I like play on words. Television Studios first production is Optimistic. And we started filming in July. And as of this recording, we are towards the end of July. We're mid-September. So about almost a little less than 2 months ago, we started filming. And what we do is, to sort of fund it all, when you ask if it's self-funded and everything, is moved into this incredible spaceship-esque property in Venice Beach. It literally, people drive by all day, every day, taking pictures of it because it's so wild looking. And how I funded it was, or have been funding it, is actually my fans from Positive Head have been reaching out for years. The listeners, saying, do a retreat. And I didn't really have the bandwidth to do it. With other entrepreneurial ventures at the time. And then it hit me with Optimistic. What if I get this big property and 3 of the rooms each week can be, listeners, fans of Positive Head that actually come on a retreat for a full week, and we give them workshop experiences, different healing modalities. They get to come on and be on an episode of Positive Head with me one day. And then on the live taping nights for Optimistic, which are Saturday nights, we have about 30 people show up for the live studio audience. It starts with me doing an opening monologue for 10, 15 minutes. We showcase a visionary artist, painter. Then I do a main soul share interview. Then the three that have been staying for the week come out on stage and get to ask a question and sort of be a part of the show. And then it concludes with a live musical performance. So the listeners have actually kind of crossed the line into the new show for, a segment of the new show they're a part of. And it's led up, a week staying here at the Mystic Manor, as we call it in Venice, for a week prior. So.
Wow, how exciting. That's dizzying how exciting that is. And how often, how can people catch Optimistic because it's about to air, it's about to launch, right? Really close. Yep. And how frequent is it?
We're about to release a trailer, right? Like within hours after, 9 months leading up to it. We're just about to release the first little trailer, and they can go to optimistic.tv, optimistic.tv, spelled MYSTIC. But actually, even if you spell it the normal way, it'll still redirect. And then, we're on all the, youtube.com/optimistic show, Instagram.com optimistic show is our tag. And we're just about to start releasing content there. So we've set those up and haven't really released much yet, but it's about to.
So it's all going to be hosted on the Optimistic platform. And what happens when NBC comes knocking on your door? Are you going to do it?
That's a great question. So, I mean, literally we're, as of this recording, we're about to release the sizzle trailer, and we're going to be taking it to, all the major networks and saying, okay, here's what we've produced. Here's what we put together. We've already got 6 episodes recorded in the can, and I basically have 37 weeks scheduled over the course of the year, so because the retreat guests are coming and, it all has to be pre-set up. Right. And so we're doing 37 episodes at the very least. And so we are, we're going to go out for the first, as soon as we have this really starting tomorrow, I'll be taking it. I have people who, like someone who works at Netflix just saw it yesterday, and it's like, oh, it really has turned out really, really, I couldn't be happier with how the trailer looks. And, I have a really professional team working on it. And so, we just have different people who are going to, like showrunners who are going to take it to the different networks and see what they say. And, it's like how I approach everything in life. I'm not attached to the outcome. I trust that what should be will be. Right. I've done a lot of things without getting help, so to speak, independently. And so, what I do know is then, it's sort of the golden age of television. They're all Disney's about to launch their own network. Apple is, YouTube now has their own private shows, and Facebook and, Netflix, and it's Hulu. There's so many of them, and they're all looking for content. Yeah. And we've created the set, the stage, the guests that are part of it, everything's there. So and it looks and feels really great, and at least maybe I'm a little biased, but so we're going to walk it in and see how they respond. And if someone says, don't release it on your own, let's work something out. Great. If a month from now we've shopped it around and we haven't gotten a quick someone who's biting, so to speak, we're just going to start putting it out to the world ourselves, and let the train leave the station.
That's so beautiful. Now, I think that, as you mentioned, we have this awakening, and the vibration. The Schumann resonance is raising. That's proves that it's happening. And I think that the muck that is being dusted up is also evidential of the fact that we're raising a vibration. The muck that's dusted up, the social political discord and everything. That's what happens when well, actually, you were saying that when you were having your awakening and that really kind of exponential growth period, and you weren't on the same page with the friends and family that you had prior to that. So I think that's what's happening. That's the same. It's mirrored there in what's going on with our society is,
right.
There's shift. And so that's uncomfortable for some of the other aspects that are maybe not shifting in the same way.
Totally.
And so, you mentioned, so you had your kind of big awakening like 20 years ago, and you noticed, that's a deep perspective. You noticed that there truly is an awakening that's really occurred over the last, say, 7 years, somewhere around 12, right? Because for me, I wonder if we always kind of feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much happening and we're always awakening. But you saw a market, because I talked to a lot of people who have had their eyes open to the metaphysical side of things for 20 years, and they typically say the last 7 years have been a big, huge shift. So you agree with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It truly has been. We all heard about the Mayan calendar back years ago, and the end of the world kind of thing, and
that
really
was all superstitious. That's different. Yeah.
And what a lot of people think and feel, and I agree with, is they weren't talking about the end of the planet. They are talking about the end of the old. It's a new age. It's a new era, where we are stepping back into our remembrance, remembering, coming back together, and it occurring to more, the planet as a whole. Ultimately, we've started, that snowball's really started to pick up steam of people saying, hold on, actually, I'm not separate from you. The separation between us is illusory, and there's only one of us in the room, and therefore what's good for you is good for me, because it's all source. It's all consciousness. It's all the consciousness that animates my form is the consciousness that animates your form. And when you start playing with that idea, it's like, like Gandhi said, if you want to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. And I like to add to that, the reason that holds true is because there are no others. And when you, once again, you play with this idea and you apply this to your life, the results speak for themselves. I call it the good kind of selfish. You asked about talking about the podcast. Why do I do it? Well, it's the good kind of selfish. I know getting those messages of, oh my gosh, I was 25 years clinically depressed, and now my life is completely turned around because I started tuning into you every day or whatever. It's like, how could I have done some pretty cool things in my life, but there's nothing more humbling and rewarding than being able to play that role and helping someone. And ultimately, I always say we teach best what we most need to learn as well. So bringing humility to it, like, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm not anyone's guru. It's not an idea that particularly appeals to me. And it's like, I'm here to just like help you remember perhaps what your soul is slumbering and forgotten, what you have amnesia to. And I've sort of found myself to have somewhat of a knack for doing that, and it's so fun, when you can see someone light up and all of a sudden their life starts changing, and there's this excitement there that wasn't there before, and they feel so empowered because they realize, hold on, I'm one with the abundance that created everything. Like, I'm as valuable and as relevant as any other human that ever has been or will be. The things that had to happen for me to lead here. If you think about the choice points and decision points that had to happen for you and I to be on this broadcast right now talking to each other, your relative, thousands of years ago who went left instead of right, or hobbled with a broken leg after the tiger chewed it off, and whatever it is, right? Like, so many things had to happen for the universe to bring me, you, and everyone listening to this point. And you are, all of us are equally blessed and worthy of all the best that the universe has to offer once we realize that we are worthy and deserve it. It's like when you come holding your bag of sugar to be filled up, it will be examined to see how large it is, right? And so I've just come and said, oh my gosh, I deserve a lot, and so do you. And let me show you how to do it as I learn and maybe stumble sometimes. And to me, it's been just the funnest journey I could possibly sign up for.
Oh, it's amazing. Now, you know what I think, what I've said before, like you're talking about, it's just one consciousness, just one energy. And I've observed, or I've had the nudge that that's probably why governments haven't really been able to weaponize psychic energy or psychic people, because when you're using psychic energy or energy, then you are tapped into the knowing that it is just one energy. You're tapped into the one energy, and so there's just an automatic governor that's in there that just inhibits that intention that would be using separation energy. It's just not possible. It just is a fail. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's I don't know if that makes
yeah. I think that's an interesting perspective. I think I often say, if you want to know the results, what the results will be with any action that you're taking, look at the intention that you go into it with at the outset. Absolutely. You'll have an idea of what kind of result. I mean, Positive Head is a really great example for me. I've done a lot of things in my life that are fun and cool, and had some successes and plenty of failures. And it's the first thing in my life as a serial entrepreneur from the time I was like 10 years old that I set out, when it wasn't about monetizing. It wasn't about how do I, what's my angle to make money. It was like, I want to just share and I want to help people. And I know that may come, but it was the first time that wasn't my MO. And lo and behold, it, just took off. And so it was really an interesting thing for me to behold, the difference between that and doing something. What was my intention? My intention was really pure, and that's the thing, is when you understand success and abundance and all these things, all the good things come as a byproduct of you doing something that's in alignment with service, like the Gandhi quote. If you want to lose yourself in the service of others, you're going to find yourself having the opportunity to give away what you want for yourself in some way, shape, or form. Always do it, because this is how you create. This is how you create it for yourself. Whatever you're putting out, you feel the energetic repercussions of. And that is such an empowering and powerful thing to start to learn and realize. And then it just moves into this whole piece of like faith, where you have to, the universe is like, all right, let's see, you ready to leap and trust the net will appear. And, it just turns into this beautiful dance with your higher self as you sort of expand into, the next greatest and grandest version of yourself. And I can't think of anything funner to do and to bring as many along with me as possible.
Yeah. Well, I always say that I explain to like my students that energy is literal, but it's very, very literal. I think that maybe around 2006 when The Secret came out and there was some misunderstanding about how energy or the law of attraction works. And the perception that people have is that I want something really hard, which is actually the recognition of the lack of it. And then that's supposed to attract essentially its opposite, the filler of it. But what it is more you have something in your energy. And that's why it's never a leap of faith, actually. It's just a step. It's like that cartoon. I don't know if you ever watched Tiny Toons or the old cartoons where there was the dog that was like babysitting this baby, and this baby would just step off a cliff, but the dog would catch her because she wasn't in any harm's way because she was so cared for. Right. So, but energy is literal. It isn't like I want something desperately and then it's answered. It's that you are something perfectly, you identify to it, and then it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very nuanced thing you're talking about there, and it's
so simple. I think it's not nuanced is the trick, is that we're nuanced and we have a hard time letting it be that simple.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. You be it to see it.
Yes.
Most people are doing something like work in order to have something like money, in order to be something like happy. But you be something like happy, you proactively show up how you want it to experience whatever's happening. And then, you be something like happy, you find yourself having and doing things that are a reflection of that.
Yes.
So if you say, I want this thing, it's very literal. Like you're saying, the universe says, oh, you want it?
Here's more wanting.
Abracadabra. I create as I speak, it means, right?
Uh-huh.
And so abracadabra, you want it, here's the experience of wanting it.
Exactly.
So really just getting into, vibrational alignment with it is something that I've definitely, I don't know if it was through just natural confidence or really believing this stuff, and probably a combination of both. It's like, even when I was flat broke on my friend's couch, it didn't change the way I valued myself. I knew that was, if I haven't won, the story ain't over, and so it's like, I still felt worthy and believed in myself. And, I vibrationally was like, oh, I am going to manifest the abundance I need to do all the things I want in the world. And I was it vibrationally. And then next thing you know, things shifted to mirror that in a way I could have never actually chosen for myself. And so I think that's a big part of it, is not being too attached to the particulars. Like, oh, okay, I'm calling in my perfect partner, and they're going to be, 6 foot and blonde hair and blue eyes and between, 27 and 27 and a half and all these particulars, instead of getting in touch with what is the underlying energy you're seeking from that desire. Right. And then just trusting that it's not if, but when it shows up, and that it'll show up in divine timing. So what is it that you sought from that particular desire for a manifestation? Don't be so attached to the exact particulars as just resonating with the underlying resonance of what it is that you're in the process of creating. I think that's a really powerful way. Instead of saying, I want this thing, I'm in the process of manifesting.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And so it's a different vibrational way.
Definitely. It's connected. You're connected to everything that you desire, because there is only one energy. Right. And so you tune into that connected frequency.
Absolutely.
when you that's a great way. That's a great shift, a great pivot. You said that you came up in a traditional kind of, or conservative Christian. Did you have some spiritual experiencing when you were a kid through the church or anything, or was it just kind of like bland for you?
No, other than getting dunked in water, no, nothing's too profound that happened to me. I did get baptized. Yeah, no, I really didn't have any profound experiences or spiritual experiences as a child that I could think of. It was pretty normal. I came from a very is normal, if there is such a thing, household. My parents are actually still together, and just
that's not normal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. So, I ended up going actually to. I grew up in Virginia, and my family wanted me to go. My parents wanted me to go to a private Christian school in Tennessee. And I was excited just to explore and, get out of the house, so to speak. And so I did end up going there, and I actually had a lot of fun for a while. And then the rules were a little too restrictive. It was pretty conservative. And I ended up getting kicked out. And then around that time is when a lot of what I was taught as far as, pertaining to this, particular denomination, I guess you would say, or branch of Christianity that I was raised. It was called Church of Christ, and it's very literal and very conservative. Yeah. And it just the math stopped adding up as my brain fully developed. Yeah. I think, and so I just wasn't quite. I wasn't feeling it fully, and but I had been sort of indoctrinated with it my whole life. So.
Yeah. It's
around
scary.
21 or so, I met someone who claimed to have psychic ability, and I was just fascinated. And then I saw her, do some things, and I'm like, hold on, how did you just do that? What's going on here? And then I started opening my mind to these things I'd never been exposed to before, and started having some cool experiences myself at that point, and reading materials and things that I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so logical. It resonated with in every, cell in my body, which probably maybe more so than the average person, because I was, part of my destiny, if you will, was to do this sort of work. So for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is such a big light bulb. This makes so much sense. It feels so good. I feel so empowered when I play with the concepts and ideas. Results are amazing. And like I said earlier, I was just a little surprised everyone else wasn't geeking out on it the same way I was. And so that's sort of how it it unfolded for me as I got into college, then got kicked out, then started getting exposed to other things. It just naturally was no longer a fit for where I was at in my own spiritual journey.
I actually did have, well, I was dunked too, but when I was 11.
Nah, I was dunked.
But I was actually, I was kind of a weird kid because my family didn't take me to church. I took myself to church. So I was actually seeking, but that was the only paradigm I knew to seek in. And I had basically like a Kundalini kind of experience when I was 11 in my baptism. I mean, that's obviously, no one called it that. No one knew that. And no one knew what happened to me. And it was just, a very traditional Baptist church too. It was not even charismatic or anything like that. So, but again, it was just my intention, my little 11-year-old intention, called that in. And I had mediumistic experiences. I was connected to my intuition. I didn't use those words then. I called it God and Jesus or whatever, but it was exactly what I experience now, just through a different lens, is how I felt about it. But then, of course, there's the indoctrination, the dogma, and the things, and that stopped fitting me. And it was actually, it started to just not fit with what I felt inside. And even the relationship I had with the experience of Jesus, you know what I mean? I was like, that doesn't feel like Jesus to me. So I'm confused by this whole jam.
Yeah. So, well, what's interesting with you say about that is, I talk a lot. I have a lot of people on the show who have some really powerful, experiences with multidimensional beings or Kundalini awakenings or, any of those sorts of things. And I personally have a lot of very grounded, like crazy leveled synchronicities. I have a wild birthday synchronicity story, for example. And, a lot of things that are sort of grounded. So as soon as you said that, it's funny because I'm like, of course, my grounded version of that is I have my awakening in my early 20s and then decide, oh my gosh, I'm one with source. I can create anything. What will it be? I'll create a band and, move out to California and make music. And the name of my band was Kundalini. So that was my Kundalini experience, like literally creating a art project,
I love
a music project called Kundalini.
Wow. That's really cool. So were you, are you a practitioner or did you ever go into being a practitioner, like using, a psychic or intuitive or medium or energy healing or,
I've had a lot of intuitive readings, either spontaneously, people that have walked up to me on the street. I've had people go into convulsions, channeling messages to me randomly. I mean, I've had some pretty wild things. Myself, I've had some psychic experience for sure. I wouldn't consider myself like, I think we all have that ability.
Oh, of course.
I don't know if I'm overly developed compared to those who, it's like, I can also make a basket, but I'm not Kobe Bryant, so that's sort of the way I view it. And I imagine, though, if I turn my attention and energy to
absolutely,
make that my priority, I would develop that muscle more and more and more. Right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I was just curious if that was something you had ever wandered into to, because absolutely. It's just a talent, and anyone could develop their singing voice or shoot a better basket if they're interested in it.
That's right.
Yeah. So then you have been Actually, I would love to hear about your music. Are you still playing? And
no, I haven't. It's been a long time. So I originally moved to California. Around that time. Oh, wow. I can do anything. What would I do? I want to make music. So speaking of, I went to my first psychic around that time. She goes, oh, I see you in a cold place like Chicago in business. And at the time I was planning to graduate college and move to Chicago and work for my uncle in business. And then she said, this whole other path for you in music in California. And, actually about a year later, I formed a band, Kundalini, and then I met someone from California who's like, oh, you need to take your music out there. That's where it belongs. I was going to college. I was in college in Nashville, so wasn't it quite fit for the style. We weren't country, and so we ended up coming to California. And, the way I view that is, I often use that story as a great example because I will say, our lives play out at the corner of free will and destiny. And it's destined because it's all already happened. Like, your fifth birthday party is happening on another channel. I believe we're just not tuned into it right now. Or if you've seen the movie Interstellar, where they're on that planet and there's a huge wave and they get stuck there for 10 extra minutes and then it ends up in 20 years passing on Earth. It's like the same. That's based off real science, right? Einstein proved it. If you shoot me into outer space, you bring me back a day later, I've been dead, or I'm a day older and you've been dead like 20 years or whatever it is. So, I often will use that story as an example of, it's destined because it's already happened, right? It's free will. Your life plays out of the corner of free will and destiny because from this moment forward, you get to choose which version of you that you want to step into. And when I was sitting in front of that psychic intuitive in that moment, she's tapping into the subtle energies and where I'm resonating at that moment. Oh, I see a timeline where you go to Chicago. I see a timeline where you go to California. So from this moment forward, the question always is, well, what's the greatest and grandest version from this moment forward? And no matter how grandiose or great or, incredible it may be, if you can think it up, Source has been there, done that, and gotten the t-shirt is what I like to say. So that's where you then can pull it back and say, okay, I'm one with Source. Source can create anything. I'm going to be in vibrational alignment with the unfolding of that version of myself. And this is how I feel we navigate we navigate free will and destiny in a way that, leads us into the most rewarding version of ourselves.
Can I tell you that you are psychic? Well, anyway, synchronicity is essentially the same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's all in the same business.
Yeah.
But what's floating around in my field, you just mentioned, your 5th birthday exists just on a different channel. I just spoke to my husband last night about my 5th birthday.
Oh, wow. See, that's pretty, that is.
It's like, so like the picture
that
of it is like,
all day, every day in my life. Yeah. Like,
I know, right?
It's just like reflection.
Yeah.
And it's like more threads of connectivity and,
yeah. And not only that, but it's what we were talking about, because I went to a workshop to learn a new healing technique last night. And so it's a part of, so that was a gift to me. You mentioning my 5th birthday, what it was that I moved in by, with the example of what happened at my 5th birthday. So that's kind of crazy. So thank you.
Really, really crazy, cool, and magical.
Well,
and
that's what's happening to your listeners all the time.
Yeah, it really is. There's a ton. It's just like the layers of it sometimes are so profound.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's incredible. Like, it will just become like this multi-layered onion of magic. And, I think because I get so excited by it too, it just calls in more of it.
Absolutely.
Vortex of like childlike wonder, and I often will say, I'm the poster adult for childhood. And so I think that really, I don't quote the Bible hardly ever. There's one verse that I love, and it's, unless you become like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. Yes. And so I feel like we're creating heaven on earth now, and becoming childlike is the path to it.
Yeah.
And you talked about Jesus and that whole thing earlier. And I often will also say, Jesus was a man. Christ is a state of consciousness.
Yes.
So that energy is, Jesus isn't coming back. He's a man that's dead and gone. Christ consciousness is spreading and expanding. And, sort of this good virus that's happening on the planet where now, you can be in the grocery store and the woman next to you is into the stuff, whereas 10 years ago, it's like, we're just sound crazy. It's definitely, and I believe this is what Christ was teaching.
Yes.
I and the Father are one. I'm one with God. You will do greater things than I. With the faith of a mustard seed, I can move a mountain. Like he was teaching law of attraction and oneness. And even when they were going to put him on the cross, I think it's really interesting. The last thing he's quoted as saying, as in his defense was, hold on, I know you're saying you're going to kill me because I've claimed I'm God. But isn't it even written in your old texts, the Old Testament, ye are gods?
Right.
And that was his defense, So all he was doing was teaching. So this energy that we're talking about here now, this is Christ consciousness.
Absolutely. The way that I interpret, I am the way, the truth, the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. I actually see the ego eimi, which is the I am. It's rather than saying he's like this person, he's saying the I am. Yeah. The I am is the way, the truth, and the life. That. And nobody gets to the Father or Source except for their own I am energy, except for the I am energy, which is that one consciousness.
That's a brilliant.
That's how it strikes me.
Perspective. Yeah, it's like, I love the I am that I am. It's like, I believe I heard Wayne Dyer for the first time break that up. He said, I am that. So anything you point at, I am that. And then you just shave off the that. Right. I am. I just am.
Yes, and this is why our language is so important, because the I am is so powerful, and your inner being or your subconscious mind / also the outer essence that we call the universe or source energy believes anything and answers anything that follows I am, and that is ask and it will be answered. It's what follows I am, whatever the intention is we're talking about.
You are a powerful creator,
yes.
And therefore we are the creator and created rolled into one, right? And so what does a creator do? It constantly creates. What does source God, the creator, do? It creates. So it creates with I am. Like, I am what? What are you? And as it's abracadabra, as I create as I speak. And so it's very important. And this is a lot of what my show's focus is about. How do we shift our perspectives to see things from the vantage point that our higher self sees things? How do we shift things to, spiritual alchemy, I say, is like the art of sifting and shifting perspectives until love emerges. Once you understand it's all happening for you, not to you, and through you, it's the ultimate game changer. And so the game becomes, how do I see this from the vantage point? So I take the lump of coal and actually turn it into the diamond it's destined to become. It's all about shifting perspectives, telling a story that serves you. You're a creator. Start telling. All I've ever done to create lots of, people step into the Mystic Manor and like, oh my gosh, this is like this incredible dream come true. I'm like, I'm just really good at making up stories. That's really all, I'm a storyteller, and I've told a story about who I am and what I can do. And if you do the same thing, you'll get the same results. It's like, I'm not special. None of, we're all have it within us. And it's so empowering to once you realize that.
Well, you are a story that is being told by source energy, or you're a melody line, or you're a harmony line in the one song, the universe. So you are a story of source energy that gets to create stories yourself. It's really, really beautiful. I want to come see Mystic Manor.
Please, you're right down the street. Yeah. Come to a live taping. Okay. They're on Saturday nights, and I'll put you on the list. And love to have you. And like I said, we have guests that come and stay a full week leading up, and then we have on the Saturday evenings when we're live taping, about 30 people that can come and be in the audience, and then we roll that into an after party that's just really just a convergence of amazing, epic, magical souls, and it's been really fun. We've recorded the first 6, so like I said, we have 37 slated through next July, and we'll see where it goes from there. But so at least 31 more ahead of us as of the time of this recording this year. So, up until July 2020.
So you're doing them. So you record them live, but you're putting. Okay, so it's essentially very much like like you said, like the late night talk shows, like the Tonight Show and everything, because those are recorded live, but then they're put together and
that's
broadcast
exactly.
non-live. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. It starts with the audience shows up and everyone gets in there, gets seated. I start with an opening monologue. There will be a visionary artist painting over in the corner. I'll step over for a few minutes and hear kind of like, what's the rundown on this piece? What's the motivation? What's the inspiration? Then the main interviewee comes out. It's been 30, 40 minutes with them. And then the guests that have been at the Mystic Manor for the week come out for about 15 minutes. And then it concludes with a live, very intimate musical performance by, a different music artist. So
amazing. And what kind of music acts are there?
Last week we had Fia, a music artist named Fia, Fia. Okay. It's a great example. I mean, she's literally like an angel that descended from, the clouds with a guitar. And I mean, her voice literally just gives you chills. It's really incredible recorded, but live is even a whole nother experience. It was Fia last week is a, great example. And
wow.
So, it's been a lot of so far kind of singer-songwriter kind of stuff that's really easy to do in an intimate setting.
Sure.
We have some psychedelic hip hop coming up next weekend or in a couple of weeks. And so some different, conscious hip hop stuff. And then, it'll be a mix of, we've had some more electronic based sort of stuff a few times with
I'm sure
live elements.
People are probably requesting that Kundalini get back together.
That would be quite the thing. Wow. Yeah. It's been a minute. 2004. So we need some practice.
Did you, what do you play? Do you sing? Do you play?
I was a vocalist. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were the frontman.
Yeah. I was one of 2 frontmen. So.
Oh, cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So how about books? Are you a writer? Are you going to be putting some books out?
I am. That was the first thing I said I wanted to do as a kid. And, I actually started writing a book before I launched Positive Head. And then I said, you know what? I don't have an audience yet or anything. Maybe I'll shelf this for a minute and get back to it. And I haven't gotten back to it because I've been so busy.
So much. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, so much. I mean, because I have a travel company that really, took a lot of my energy over the last few years as well. A lot of growth and ups and downs. That's a whole story of my sort of experience with that. As I mentioned, I went from a friend's couch to an Inc. 569 fastest growing private company in the U.S. to getting offered to be bought out for $30 million within 12 hours of that offer, losing 90% of our revenue.
Oh my gosh.
Because of two multi-billion-dollar companies got together and pushed us out. And then, a friend and business partner, someone I had let in, trying to like steal what was left. It was like a script out of a movie. And so then out of the ashes of that, me and my partner started a new travel company a few years ago. And that's taken a lot of energy as well. And only recently with the launch of Optimistic have I pulled back a lot of my time and energy there. And he's sort of mainly running the show. But between doing that and the podcast 5 days a week and, now Optimistic, it's a lot. So one of the things for someone like me who gets so excited about projects is like really learning you can do anything. You just can't do everything at once.
No, totally. Are you into numerology? I feel like you have a lot of 5 energy. I'm wondering if you're a life path 5.
I'm an 11 actually.
Oh, 11 too? Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense too, because they want to share the love. They want to spread the love. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm a king of hearts and destiny cards. Have you ever done your destiny card?
No, I don't even know about this.
That's my new favorite. It's like astrology and numerology sort of combined. It like predates tarot. It's based off the 52 playing cards. There's 52 weeks in a year, 52 playing cards. There's 4 seasons, 4 suits. There's 12 royals, in the deck. There's 12 months. Yeah. If you add up all the cards and make the Joker a quarter, it adds up to 365 and a quarter. So it's really interesting because instead of being 1 in 12 like astrology, I'm a Leo, but instead of doing 1 in 12, it's 1 in 52. So
that's cool. I got to check that out. Thanks.
Is King of Hearts. So
have you heard of human design?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Do you know what you're? A generator. I'm a reflector, which I don't know a lot about.
That's really rare.
It's the rare one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. Well, doing something where I'm actually interviewing people.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do a lot of reflecting there. But I think also the sort of empathic nature, that is sort of reflecting the, you, me, I'm you pushed out, you're me pushed out kind of energy too. Right. I do. And you know what I do? I actually do about every 5th episode of mine I do on my own. So, but I like cool. I like how you do that with. I love the dynamism and I am a life path 5 and I love change and I love adventure. So I really dig everything.
Well, maybe it's time to do more solo episodes.
Yeah, I can actually get a lot of response from those too.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is when you have a lot to offer. It's important to get your voice out there too, right? It's so fun to play off of other people and to hear their stories and and it's also very rewarding to, sort of your own flavor of.
Yeah. Well, I do a lot. I teach a lot. So I feel like it feels like I do that a lot. But anyway, well, I'm off, man. Thank you for the Destiny cards. And all
that.
Really
that's
awesome.
A fun one for people to check out.
Well, we are just about out of time. Is there anything else you would like to share with everyone? Everyone, I want to remind you, check out Optimistic TV, Positive Head, all of it. And and thank you, Brandon Beachum, for being here. Anything else you would like to tell everyone?
Yeah, the only thing that pops up for me is as we are sort of ascending vibrationally, we're all going through this massive growth. It's this quickening that is happening, right? Where you're exponentially growing, most likely if you're hearing this show, and just realizing like when resistance is coming up, and you just can learn to surrender to it, and move into a state of love-centered energy. And choosing to be happy and loving more than needing to be right is a huge, huge shift. And I think as you ascend and as this radical growth is coming for you, like that is like when you find yourself holding on too tight and resisting and fighting, like release and trust and just move into a state of love and a loving heart. And you instantly win. The book by Michael Singer, Untethered Soul, he talks about this, like the only thing that becomes important when you realize it's having an open heart, because it's an energetic valve, same way it's a physical valve.
Yes.
And so if you're closing your heart open and closing it all the time, you're cutting yourself off from source. It's like a Ferrari stopping and starting, right? If you just learned my only aim is to keep my heart open no matter what's happening, you become a cup that overflows with this incredible chi and life force and energy and source energy that, then just reflects into everything in your life. You ultimately can't lose doing that.
Oh, beautiful. Open heart. Wow. Thank you so much. What a beautiful parting word. And again, such an honor to have you on. And you're so busy, but I would love to have you on again and again and again.
And likewise. And perhaps we can bring you on Positive Head at some point as well.
Oh my gosh. I would just love that so much. And I'm going to come to see you at the Mystic Manor.
Yeah. Definitely do that. That would be, you're too close not to. And you will absolutely have a marvelous time. And I would definitely love to connect with you here in 3D.
Me too. Oh, well, thank you again. Brandon Beachum, Positive Head Podcast, Optimistic TV. What a wonderful episode. And thank you all for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.